Insurance totaled every vehicle we own. Here's exactly what we'd buy next. All right, Liz, let's play a terrible game. Imagine we wake up tomorrow morning, walk outside, and every vehicle we own is gone. My F-150, your Suburban, everything. A tornado or maybe a flash flood, whatever you want to imagine, the insurance company says, "We're sorry about the terrible news, but here's a check." Now we've got a problem. We've got 5 kids. We've got 4-H. We've got rabbits and chickens. We've got trailers. We've got the Extreme Machines event coming up soon. We've got road trips to do. And we've got a homeschool learning community starting soon for children. And we've got exactly 0 vehicles sitting in our driveway. So here's the question. If Liz and I had to replace every vehicle we own tomorrow, what would we actually buy? Well, not what the commercials tell us, not what our neighbors drive, not what has the fanciest badge on it. What would we spend our own money on, Liz?
Well, I already know how this starts. You're going straight to the truck section.
Well, yeah.
You don't even want to look at the SUVs first?
Not until I know what I'm towing.
All right.
Now, here's why our family shops differently. Now, before we start naming vehicles, you have to understand something. Our family doesn't shop like most families do. Most families don't have 5 kids at home. Most families aren't hauling rabbits or chickens to the state fair one weekend and hauling equipment for Extreme Machines the next. We live in North Dakota. Snow isn't something we see once in a while. Snow is a way of life in the winter. Some mornings you don't ask, should I use 4-wheel drive? You ask, how soon am I going to need it? Our vehicles have to work every single day, not just look good sitting in the driveway.
That's right, North Dakota smart. And people don't realize how much stuff a family accumulates.
A lot of stuff.
When we travel, there's coolers, fold-up chairs, backpacks, projects, groceries, tons of animal feed, suitcases, extension cords, tables, you name it. We don't just need seats, we need a lot of cargo space.
Exactly. And here's another thing. We've helped thousands of people buy vehicles. One lesson keeps coming back over and over again. The best vehicle isn't always the one with the best reputation. Sometimes it's the one that gives you the most value today. And that's exactly how we shop. First rule we have, no brand loyalty. People always ask me, well, Kevin, aren't you a Ford guy? Well, I do own a Ford truck. I own a Chevy SUV. If tomorrow the best value happened to be GMC, well, then I'd buy a GMC. If Nissan suddenly made me an offer I couldn't ignore, I'd buy the Nissan. I don't marry brands, but I do marry value. And I think that's one of the biggest mistakes consumers make. They fall in love before they know the numbers. Dealerships love that because emotional buyers negotiate terribly. Logical buyers negotiate much better. And I can tell you that the vehicles I have in my driveway, I got fantastic deals on both of them. Now let's start with my truck. Would another Ford F-150 be on the list? Absolutely. In fact, I'd be surprised if it wasn't one of the finalists. My current truck has treated me incredibly well. It's comfortable. It hauls what I need. It tows what I ask it to tow. Parts are available everywhere.
Right.
Almost every mechanic knows how to work on it. That matters. People don't think about ownership 5 years later, but I certainly do.
That's important.
But here's where people misunderstand me. Just because I'd look at another F-150 doesn't mean I've already decided to buy one, because before I buy anything, I'm asking one question. What's happening in today's market? Because today's market is completely different than it was 2 years ago. Sometimes Ford is throwing thousands of dollars on the hood, but sometimes Chevy is, and sometimes Ram gets incredibly aggressive. Sometimes Nissan surprises everybody. You don't know until you shop, so don't be married to something before you get going.
So even you don't walk into a Ford dealership saying, I'm buying this truck.
No, not a chance. Never. I walk in saying, let's see the numbers. Huge difference. In fact, I don't walk in at all. I make the phone call.
That's right.
Now let's talk about the Silverado, and let's walk across the street because Chevy is absolutely getting my attention. The Silverado has become an incredibly solid truck. It's comfortable, capable, easy to live with, and here's something I love. Chevy has historically been willing to negotiate. That always gets my attention. Let's say Ford has an F-150 for $61,000. Chevy has a Silverado equipped almost the same, but after rebates and dealer discounts, it's $6,000 less. Well, we're going to be having a different conversation because I can do a lot with $6,000. That's family vacations, that's college savings, That's emergency money, and that is certainly not pocket change. Some people spend way too much time arguing online about which truck has the prettier dashboard, and almost no time comparing out-the-door prices. I've watched buyers spend 30 minutes discussing whether one truck has slightly nicer stitching on the seats while completely ignoring a $5,500 difference in price. That doesn't make any sense to me. I'm buying transportation, not a trophy, and the car does not represent me.
That's right. Okay, well, let's talk about the Sierra as well, because I know you like these too.
I do. Honestly, I've always looked at the Sierra as the Silverado's slightly better dressed brother.
Yeah.
Mechanically, they're very similar, but GMC usually gives you a little nicer interior, a little nicer fit and finish, a little more upscale feel. The question isn't whether I like it, because I do. The question is it worth paying more? If the answer is yes, well, great. If the answer is no, I'll happily save the money. Again, I'm not buying the badge, I'm buying the deal.
That's probably the biggest thing people misunderstand about you, Kevin. You don't wake up wanting one specific vehicle. You wake up wanting to make the smartest purchase. I do like that about you.
Exactly. And after helping thousands of buyers over the years, I've learned something. Sometimes the smartest purchase isn't the vehicle you thought you'd buy when you started shopping. By the way, this is exactly why we built the Homework Guy car buying service. People ask me all the time, Kevin, how do you know all this? Because this isn't theory. This is what our team does every single day. We negotiate vehicle purchases on both new and used cars all across the United States. We know where dealers are flexible. We know who's discounting. We know who's playing games with pricing. And most importantly, we know how to negotiate. If you'd rather have experienced professionals fighting for your next deal, instead of walking into a dealership all alone, we'll visit thehomeworkguy.com and click on our hassle-free car buying service. It's the big red button on the homepage. We'd love the opportunity to help you. Now that we've got my truck figured out, but Liz's SUV, that's where things are really going to get interesting. And honestly, this may be the tougher decision because she's hauling kids, groceries, school supplies, 4-H projects, and enough snacks to survive what feels like a month-long expedition every time we leave town.
Hey, man, the kids get grumpy. I throw a meat stick at them. I'm not the one who packs like we're preparing for the apocalypse.
Hold on now. Who's the one that says, Kevin, just throw one more bag in the back?
Well, because somehow one more bag turns into 6 more bags.
And somehow they're all essential.
They are essential. We have 5 kids. Do you know what happens if you forget snacks?
Mutiny on your hands.
Exactly.
You know, people laugh, but this is exactly why so many families buy the wrong SUV. They walk into a dealership with 2 small kids. The salesman shows them an SUV with a cute little third row. Everybody fits. At that moment, problem solved, except nobody asked where the luggage goes. Nobody asked where the stroller goes. Nobody asked where the folding chairs go. Nobody asked where the cooler goes. Then vacation comes and suddenly somebody's holding a backpack on their lap for 6 hours and hating every minute of it.
That's right, or you're playing luggage Tetris.
Exactly. I don't want to play luggage Tetris. I want to throw everything in, close the hatch, and hit the road.
Exactly. And that's honestly why I love the Suburban. Once you've owned one, it's really hard to go backwards. It's not just about seating, it's everything behind the seats. When we're heading to a 4-H event, we've got cages, feed, water bottles, coolers, sometimes tables and chairs, sometimes all of it, even a tent. The Suburban just swallows it up.
And burps.
I don't spend 30 minutes deciding what gets left behind. I just shove it all in.
She's absolutely right. People see a Suburban and think, that's a huge SUV. Well, I see a machine that's a very useful tool. It's basically the pickup truck for people who need everything protected from the weather.
And a lot more seats. And for North Dakota winters, that's exactly why I don't want everything sitting in an open truck bed.
Another great point. Now, let's be fair. It's not perfect. It's big. Parking downtown takes a little maneuvering and planning. Fuel economy isn't winning any awards. Maintenance costs can be higher than a midsize SUV, although the Suburban has treated us very well. And I'm going to say something that surprises people. One of my least favorite things GM has done is that active fuel management.
Right.
The system that switches between 8 cylinders and 4 cylinders. Now, I know there are different opinions on this, but every independent mechanic I've talked to, including our auto expert on our broadcast, says exactly the same thing. If you're planning to keep that vehicle a long time, disable that sucker. It's one of the very first things we do. To us, trying to save a little fuel isn't worth increasing the chance of expensive engine problems later.
We don't buy vehicles for 3 years and then dump them. We buy them hoping they'll be around for a very long time.
Exactly. Long-term thinking changes how we shop. Now let's talk about the Tahoe. Would we buy a Tahoe? Absolutely, especially if there was a meaningful price difference.
I like the Tahoe. It's a little easier to park, a little easier to maneuver. It doesn't feel quite as enormous overall.
But here's the trade-off. The second all 3 rows are full, you lose cargo space. That's where our family runs into trouble. For a family of 4, the Tahoe might be absolutely perfect, but for our family, it starts getting tight in a great big hurry.
Well, let's just say this. If we're taking everybody, I don't want to be choosing between bringing luggage or bringing pillows.
Haha, that's because everybody insists on needing their own pillow.
Well, that's because they do. But I'm just trying to keep the peace back there.
Fair enough. Happy kids, happy parents, and that's what drives our vehicle choices. I'm Kevin Hunter with the amazing Elizabeth. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next video.